So hello and welcome to the webinar for Progress Payments in Fiscal. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be jumping right into the steps and some of the information that we have for you today. My name is Eli White. I'm instructor with the Department of General Services California Procurement Contracting Academy at CalPCA at DGS. So this training is about inputting your progress payments into Fiscal. Fiscal being the new online financial tracking system rolled out by the state of California. Before we get too far along, I do want to point out this is about progress payments, not about blanket orders. Alright, so if you are here to find out about blanket orders, you are in the wrong place. So we are going to be covering progress payments, how to get those in to the Fiscal system, and some of the steps that you'll need to know about as users of Fiscal. Alright, now taking us through the process today will be Anella Freeman, and she's going to be guiding you through. Should you have any questions, please feel free to review the information and resources PDF that we have linked so that you can access some of the contact details of the various offices and hotlines that are available to you to get you the answers that you may need. So for that, I will hand across now to Anella so she can take you through, as I say, progress payments in Fiscal.
Thank you so much, Eli. As Eli said, my name is Anella Freeman. I'm an instructor here at the California Procurement and Contracting Academy here at DGS. And yes, we are going to cover posting progress payments within Fiscal. First and foremost, you should have gone through the user productivity kits available via the Fiscal website. Now these user productivity kits help guide you through what I like to call the clicks of the system, tell you where to navigate, where to input information, where to go. So you might want to, if you have additional questions, as Eli said, there is an information resources handout that are linked to this presentation today. But also keep reviewing those user productivity kits. No one's keeping track of how many times you're doing them, so you're more than welcome to access them as many times as you need, however many versions you need to do of them. There are different versions to go through it. A see it mode where you can sit back, relax, and watch someone take you through the process. Try it mode where you can start getting used to the clicks, and then a know it mode where you can test yourself. So those are great tools as we get used to the system. So as you went through the user productivity kits, you should have gone through posting progress payments, modifying a progress payment, uploading progress payments, and viewing progress payments. Now, while some of these steps are pretty self-explanatory, I wanted to go over something that may be not so intuitive, things that you should also make note of as you're operating within Fiscal. So remember, this information is not designed to replace the UPKs or any job aids you may have available. It's just to help supplement and offer you additional avenues to learn a new system, to learn the way the system will operate and how to navigate within that system. So if you go to the Fiscal website, you will see the different UPKs or user productivity kits that are available. Again, they cover the clicks of the system. If you want something more tangible in your hand, however, you're going to go to the printed option. You'll be able to get the step-by-step directions. So if you're someone that wants something at your desk, something you can review, make sure that you're doing everything correctly, you can definitely go ahead and, in addition to the see it, try it, and know it modes, print out the print it mode. You won't get, for the progress payments, you won't get the screenshots that you'll see today, but at least you'll get the step-by-step instructions. That being said, I want to highlight that the screenshots and the information in my PowerPoint come directly from the user productivity kits. So if you need to see the screen, you need to refresh yourself, this is a great avenue to go to, as this video is not going to be going through the UPK. I'm going to focus on some of the differences that you will see and encounter as you transition to Fiscal. Also, again, this webinar is not designed to replace anything you have available to you. The user productivity kits, your job aids, and this information is designed all to be helpful to you and give you the opportunity to learn information and become familiar with Fiscal. So, as Eli started to say, this session is not about blanket orders. Progress payments are very different than how we pay off of blanket orders. So please understand that prior to inputting anything into progress payments or prior to indicating that you are using progress payments. Blanket orders and progress payments are both covered under different parts of policy and code. So we need to remember that as we go into. So, what covers progress payments for non-IT goods? That's Public Contracts Code Section 10314. Remember that Fiscal does not govern whether or not you can use it. So this Public Contracting Code does. And it specifically states that any contract for goods to be manufactured by the contractor specifically for the state and not suitable for sale to others in the ordinary course of the contractor's business may provide on such terms and conditions as the department deems necessary to protect the state's interest for progress payments for work performed and costs incurred at the contractor's shop or plant, provided that not less than 10% of the contract price is required to be withheld until final delivery and acceptance of the goods, and provided further that the contractor is required to submit a faithful performance bond acceptable to the department in a sum not less than 1/2 of the total amount payable under the contract securing the faithful performance of the contract by the contractor. Basically, it's a long code, but if you are going to be using progress payments, you want to make sure you're within the proper codes and regulations as they govern the use of them. So when it comes to non-IT goods, remember there are going to be percentages involved. There's going to be a performance bond involved. This is how it is different than a blanket order. So please understand that. Furthermore, SCM Volume 2, Chapter 9A3.2 discourages the use of progress payments whenever possible. It lists recommendations regarding progress payments, and if you do use them, you need to follow these guidelines. Do not allow progress payments on purchase documents with a term of less than 3 months. They should not be made more frequently than monthly in arrears. These are things you need to become familiar with as you determine whether the use of progress payments is acceptable for your solicitation for your purchase. Keep in mind, as a buyer, you need to carefully evaluate whether a progress payment is warranted and whether the contract administrator has the expertise to properly monitor contract activities before entering into purchases that include progress payments. Now, when we go into IT goods and services, it's a bit different. The definition for IT goods and services, a progress payment, is a partial payment approach identified in a contract related to steps or phases toward the completion of the contract for IT goods and or services. So the use of the payment approach, again, still requires a percentage of the payment to be withheld pending completion of the entire contract and bond, and then the remainder is then again paid upon final delivery or acceptance of goods or services. So it's a bit different than non-IT goods. SCM Volume 3, Chapter 9A3.3 lists the items that departments must conform to when dealing with progress payments. So if you are working on an IT good and or service that you think a progress payment is acceptable, you're still going to refer to the SCM because you're going to need to follow policy to ensure that the progress payment is appropriate, but that you're conforming to what the SCM is asking you, as well as public contract code. Of course, because there was a public contract code available for non-IT goods, there's also a public contracting code as it refers to IT goods and services, and that's Public Contract Code Section 12112. In this public contracting code, it's a lengthy code, and it covers IT goods, services. It covers all of the restrictions, parameters that you need to consider. So if you are working on an IT good or service purchase, that you are considering a progress payment, please make sure you're referring to the SCM as well as public contract code. We want to make sure everything is doing in code. Now, you might be saying, you know, I don't need a code and reg lesson. And I understand that. We all have been buying. We all have done purchases that involved various methods, acquisition types, etc. Fiscal is just a system, and it's going to throw up little to no red flags if you're doing something wrong. And so it's a perfect opportunity to refamiliarize ourselves with the SCM, Public Contracting Code, making sure that we're doing everything correct, because the system is not going to stop us from doing anything if we're not conforming to these things. The system does not know the SCM, nor does it know your departmental policies. As much as we're talking about progress payments, your department may state that a progress payment is not acceptable for non-IT goods, that you are not allowed to do that. So make sure you're reviewing department policies as well. So what do you need to know? So you are to determine whether progress payment is acceptable. You've not yet solicited, because you want to make sure that all your bidders understand that you are going to be using a progress payment and what benchmarks that they're going to have to meet for every phase of that particular project. So once you've determined that the progress payments are appropriate for your procurement, you've solicited, you've awarded, Fiscal is going to then be your record keeper for all of your progress payments. So again, remember, it's simply a reporting system. Remember, I just said it's a system. Therefore, you as a buyer need to ensure that your procurement complies with your departmental policies, but also state policies, codes, rules, and regulations. So just keep that in mind as you begin to operate within Fiscal. So now that we've covered that, I want to cover a bit of things that were covered in the UPK. So as we said earlier, the UPKs take you through the step-by-step process of how to post a progress payment. So again, it's your fiduciary responsibility to ensure that progress payments are appropriate in accordance to policy and code. So the navigation you should see is Fiscal CSCR progress payment. Now, if you don't have this navigation, there could be a couple reasons for that. Number one, you were not properly mapped to the correct role in order to be able to post this. Back in February of 2015, your department went through a whole process of mapping all of you and your colleagues to proper roles to be able to operate within Fiscal. So, if you don't see this navigation, verify what role you are mapped to, speak with your manager or your department liaison to do so, making sure that you do have the appropriate role to be able to get this navigation for the menu. The other reason you may not have the proper navigation is that technical issues may have existed, glitches, whatever the case may be. And once you verify that you have the role, this could be the other reason that you don't see the navigation. So if there are any technical issues, glitches, you don't see the navigations, or the navigations aren't working properly, you need to contact the Fiscal Service Center, and they can be reached at 1-855-347-2250, or at Fiscal Service Center, all one word, at fiscal.ca.gov. I would love it if CalPCA had the opportunity and the ability to assist you with all of these glitches and role mapping issues. However, we don't have access to the system in those forms, so we wouldn't be able to help fix a navigation or provide you a role. So definitely you're going to need to contact the Service Center for those issues. So you've got through the navigation, you've clicked progress payment. You're going to click add a new value. When you're adding a new value, you're going to click that. Now, if you are modifying a progress payment, we'll cover that in a little bit, you would then select find an existing value. So whether you're modifying or adding, it's going to be the same menu navigation. You're going to make sure you do add a new value. If you'll notice, once you click add a new value and you enter all the information, all of the fields are asterisked. That means that they're all mandatory. So the system will not let you click save until you have entered all of the information. So make sure making sure you're putting your purchase order number, your progress payment reference number, if it's one out of the 4, whatever the case may be. Double check and triple check your work, because anything after you hit save is going to require a modification. Also, there is no, as you can see, no save and continue function. So if you have a bunch of these to enter, you're going to want to make sure you have proper time to do it. You're not going to be able to save and continue, come back to it later. So again, total purchase amount, payment amount, the date, your information, and the vendor ID. Okay, now when you look at the vendor ID, I wanted to highlight a function that you see. Circled, you'll notice a vendor ID, vendor name, and ID number. So vendor ID is going to be a number that was assigned to the vendor when they registered for the system. So you might not know that all the time. So you want to always go to vendor name. If you notice, the default is begins with. If you click on the arrow next to the begins with, you'll see a drop down menu, and you'll see an option that has contains. I would highly recommend whenever you're searching within the Fiscal system to use this contains function, only because this will give you a more robust a search. If you have a vendor that you didn't know that their official name begins with the word the, and you're searching within Fiscal without that, with the begins with function, you're probably not going to find your vendor, because the way they registered was with their official name that begins with the word the. So just keep those in mind. Make sure you're using contains. It'll probably give you the more successful search to find your vendor. Once you've found your vendor, you're going to go ahead and make sure that that's reflected properly. Hit save, and you are going to be provided a payment reference number. You're going to want to make note of this number because that's how you are going to search for the progress payment in the future. So keep that in mind. Make sure that you're double checking and triple checking your work again before you hit that save button. So the next topic is modifying a progress payment. So like I said, it's the similar menu functions, right? But now we're going to use the find an existing value search function. So as you can see, using your business unit and PO number, you can search properly for the payment. So why your business unit and PO number? So your business unit is your department. So it's not specific to the unit you're working in. So as you can imagine, as you and your colleagues start entering a plethora of information within the system, how many search results will populate as you operate within Fiscal. So to minimize that, you're going to also use your PO number. The PO number is going to be that unique identifier that will help narrow down your search to probably the PO number that you exactly are entering. That being said, again, if you look, there's that begins with function again. Now, if your PO numbers for your department are 27 numbers, and let's say you're used to only remembering the last 8 digits, you can still use that contains function and enter those last 8 digits, because guess what? It's going to find every PO number within your business unit that contains those 8 digits. So again, an easier way to search for it in that sense if you don't want to memorize all 27 purchase order numbers. Now once you're in there, you'll be able to go in and edit any information. Please be aware though that all fields become editable. So make sure you're following your department's policies, not just when it comes to what edits you can make, but documentation, etc. What happened? Did you just make a typo? Are there terms and conditions that have changed that makes any type of payment different? So make sure that you are operating still within code and regulation, still within policy as you modify your progress payment. And just be very careful. Again, you know, you want to make sure that you're not accidentally, because you're trying to do it very quickly, making a change that you weren't intending to make. Now once you hit update, you're going to get a success message that the report was successfully saved. Okay. So hopefully that gives you an idea of whenever you enter a progress payment as well as whenever you modify it. Now, there may have been some confusion about the upload process. If you read or viewed the UPKs rather, you would have noticed that there is a function for an upload. Now, your department went through a whole process before the fall release, and everything that rolled out January 4th of 2016 is considered the fall release. So there's a whole process before everything came live, and your department had to indicate whether or not they were interested in participating in an upload process. Now, as you can see, based on the SCM and Public Contracting Code, there may not be many progress payments that you are making. Therefore, your department may have elected to not do an upload. But if they did, you may have already received information of what needs to happen. Because, again, there were probably conversations around how often the data would be downloaded, how often the data would be uploaded into Fiscal, who would be responsible for those, and who would be responsible for addressing and correcting any errors. So there's going to be a lot of user testing that would have taken place. You may have been involved in that. You may not have been. Your colleagues may have been involved in that or not. So there was a whole process. Understand that. Now, if your department did elect to participate in the upload, just follow the policies and procedures they set forth in terms of when your data needs to be saved, etc., etc. Now, if your department decided not to participate in the upload, you're going to manually enter each transaction as shown in the posting progress payments portion of the UPK. What does that simply mean? That means every payment you have to enter, you're going to go in, go do the same menu navigations, add the existing value, put in all the information again, hit save, etc., etc. So it's just going to be a step-by-step process. Again, that's where the printed option comes in handy if you're going to be doing these a lot and you want to make sure you're following the proper steps. So hopefully that shed light on the upload. The final thing I want to go over is viewing progress payments. So as you saw in the earlier navigation, there was an option to view progress payments. Maybe you're a manager that needs to review your staff's work. Maybe you're just looking at your progress payments, making sure your file is documented properly. So this is going to be a function that you might use. So again, you're going to go to main menu, you're going to go to Fiscal CSCR and view progress payment. Now when you do that, you are going to be led to a very different screen. As you notice, there's a vendor supplier name way to search, an FEIN search function, again your business unit, your PO number, your progress payment reference, and the date range. Now, the date range really is the only required field. I say that to say, if you include your business unit, PO number, and date range, you're probably going to get the search result that you are looking for. So make sure you're using all of the search functions that you can to find your appropriate purchase order. Now once you see the search results, you'll be led to this screen. Now if you click on the detailed view, if you look at that little icon there, you can click on the detailed view and you'll be led to the screen that looks very similar to the screen that you use to input your progress payment. You'll be able to view it. You'll hit return and you'll be led back to your search results. So hopefully this helps you navigate through the system, helps maybe make a few things from the UPKs a bit more clear. Maybe it helps shed light on some questions that you may have had. So that being said, if you do have any questions, please feel free to contact CalPCA. Make use of those UPKs as well as any job aids that you may have available. That's all for me. I'm going to head back and give it to Eli to close out this video.
All right, thank you, Anela. So thank you everyone for sticking around and viewing the entirety of this video. We're hoping that we shed some light on the progress payment process within Fiscal. Again, progress payments, it's not blanket orders, and we have mentioned along the way that we recommend doing the UPKs, those user productivity kits, on the Fiscal Training Academy webpage, so that you can get a better understanding for the functionality within Fiscal that applies to you and your role. I would recommend doing all of the UPKs that apply to your role, even if that functionality is not yet live. We're hoping to see that roll out within the next 6 months into full functionality. So it's going to benefit you as a user to understand the entire processes that you'll be utilizing. So, when it comes to those UPKs, there's the 4 methods to view it. You've got the see it, which is very much just a straight passive, watch the training as it happens around you. The try it's, where you're a little bit more involved. The know it's, which is like a self-test area. And there's also the print it's, where you can print out all the instructions as kind of a desk manual resource for you as well. So do be aware that those are available to you. Now, if you have questions or are experiencing any kind of issue with Fiscal, you want to contact the Fiscal Service Center. Their phone number is 1-855-347-2250. That number is toll free. And you can also email them at fiscalservicecenter, all one word, at fiscal.ca.gov. Okay, so again, thank you for staying with us to the end of this presentation. We obviously look forward to any feedback you can provide us. You can get in touch with CalPCA help at dgs.ca.gov, and we look forward to seeing you online either in Fiscal or in one of the CalPCA classes in the very near future.